Pro plan on Spreaker. Once again, that promo code is BS3 Sports. Go on to Spreaker.com. If you want to host your own podcast, talk about whatever you want to talk about from A to Z, whatever it may be, definitely you can do that. All right, so we are back, and we are going to talk about these NFL matchups. We got some great NFL matchups. We got games today, we got games Sunday, and we got games Monday. If you're an NFL fan, you got to be out of your mind because there's so many matchups, a lot of things to look at. We will be talking about the Cowboys and Seahawks. We'll get to that one in a couple of minutes. But the games for today, number one, which this is, it's kind of a dumpster fire. Let's all be honest here. The Colts versus the Ravens. The Ravens are still in the hunt. It's not impossible that they can't get in. They are right now 7th, so they got to climb up one spot, but it is possible. So you got the Colts versus the Ravens. The Colts are not the same team, obviously, without Andrew Luck. I don't know what's the deal with his injury. Seems like it's took another turn for the worse. But to me, this game is an easy win. I'm going with the Ravens. I don't think the Colts have any chance. This game's at 3:30, and it's in Baltimore. So that's my pick. We'll start off with that game first.
Yeah, Baltimore hosting the Colts this weekend, or today, later on this afternoon. The Baltimore Colts, I did that yesterday on my show. The Baltimore Ravens, right. Baltimore Ravens in control of their own destiny at this point. This is a team looking to get to the playoffs for the first time since 2014, but are very stingy at home in the month of December under head coach John Harbaugh. This is the team and the Baltimore Ravens are 15-7 in the month of December, only giving up 16.4 points per game. So you're talking about a team led by the ageless one and Terrell Suggs on the defensive side of the football. And Baltimore firmly in control of their destiny to get themselves into the playoffs, where a wild card spot is where they will make their hay and potentially getting into the AFC playoffs this year. So I look for Baltimore to handle business with everything out in front of them to defeat a Colts team who has just been ravaged with injury. Andrew Luck being shut down for the entire season. I don't think they have anything for Baltimore, especially Alex Collins is playing really well at the running back position for them. So I look for Baltimore to handle their business and keep moving forward to try and get themselves into the playoffs this week against the Colts here.
Yeah, and I think the NFL has been screwed this year as far as matchups. I think they tried to put some good matchups on paper, but with injuries, with a lot of the issues during this year, especially the Andrew Luck, that's screwed over a lot of potential matchups because he's not playing, and without him, that team is really nothing. Jacoby Brissett, I think he's good. I think Andrew Luck though has really hidden a lot of holes, especially on defense, and I think with that now, that game was just not what it was probably meant to be at the beginning of the season. So I'm going with the Ravens. If the Ravens win this game, that puts them at 9-6, which could possibly they could possibly leapfrog either the Bills, the Titans, or the Chiefs. They're all 8-6, so it's kind of a free for all right there. Obviously, they're going to have to win out, like most teams are going to have to win out. But to me, I got the Ravens winning that game. To me, that's an easy one. Next up, we got Vikings versus Packers. This game's going to be played at Lambeau Field. The Packers are out of it. Aaron Rodgers has been shut down for the year. So obviously, this is a game now where the Packers are going to be the spoiler, which they can't be too much of a spoiler because the Vikings are already in the playoffs. They've already clinched. So to me, this is another game where it was supposed to be a great game at the beginning of the season. Now, at this point in time, it's a game. It's a no-value game. It doesn't matter who wins this game. Either one of them. Aaron Rodgers has been shut down, like I said. I'm very, very excited, though, to see Hundley, who has played some good football. That kid to step in behind Aaron Rodgers, to not get probably any respect from anybody, and he is making a name for himself. And if I was him, and if I was his agent, I would be trying to get the trying to get the hell out of Green Bay as fast as possible. Because you're not going to get any playing time behind Aaron Rodgers. As long as he can walk, talk, as long as he can throw, he's not going anywhere. But I think Hundley, and shout out to Courtney Arden, says, hope everyone has a great, blessed holiday and Merry Christmas. You as well. But I think this is the time where Hundley needs to leave from the Packers. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what his contract looks like. But I just know when you're in a prime position to make some real money and to possibly start on the team. So in this game, I'm going to go with the Vikings, even though it is at Lambeau. I don't see them winning this game. I think the Packers, your hopes have got to be depleted. You know, your confidence has got to be depleted, obviously, but you're not going into the playoffs. But I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because obviously, as you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers is shut down for the season. And give credit, as you mentioned, give credit to Brett Hundley for keeping this team and the Green Bay Packers in it to at least give Aaron Rodgers a shot to try and help them get into the playoffs. Obviously, with them losing to Carolina last week, their playoff hopes are pretty much done for the 2017 season. But this is an interesting game on the Minnesota side because Minnesota still has a lot to play for in these final 2 weeks of the season. They obviously are playing the Packers today, but then they return home next week to play against the Chicago Bears. And depending on what happens with Philadelphia over the next couple of weeks, where they're playing against Oakland on Christmas Day, and then they return home to play against the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll touch on here in a little bit, who still have a lot to play for themselves. Minnesota could still potentially, who have already clinched the division, obviously, in the NFC North, could potentially still get home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs, depending on what happens with Philadelphia over the next couple of weeks. So Minnesota still has a lot to play for, and they must take Green Bay seriously, especially the way that Brett Hundley played. I go back even to the game that they lost on the road to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he had a tremendous football game and keeping the Packers in that football game until very late in that game against the Steelers, where the Steelers were able to pull out that victory there. So I believe that the Minnesota Vikings, I'm picking them on the road to beat Green Bay, but I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you, if Green Bay found themselves winning this football game. Brett Hundley was playing with a lot of confidence before. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers came back to try and get them into the playoffs. So we'll see how this game goes, but I am picking Minnesota to win this football game later on tonight. They are in this game a 8.5 point favorite on the road, so a pretty large favorite on the road against Green Bay tonight. But Green Bay will be competitive in this game. I think they still have a lot of pride to play with to end this season, even though they are out of the playoffs. But this game still means a lot for the Minnesota Vikings when it comes to potentially getting home field advantage in the playoffs, depending on what happens with Philadelphia over the next couple of weeks with them playing Oakland and Dallas.
True. And Jelani just actually put that in the chat. And Vikings need to win to put pressure on the Eagles. Home field advantage is still up for grabs. Yeah, that's a great point. And the Eagles, that is an interesting situation right there. With Nick Foles, I did a show on my weekend wrap-up show. It's a Nick Foles to the rescue with a question mark, because will he come to the rescue? Where does that team go? So we'll talk about their matchup here pretty soon. We also have the Lions versus the Bengals. This is in Cincinnati. The Bengals are 5-9. There's rumors that the coach will be fired. With this has been going on for so long, and obviously Marvin Lewis either knows someone or he has pictures of someone doing something they're not supposed to do. But Marvin Lewis has been there for like way too long. I'm serious. You just need to move on. If you need to start over, whatever it is you need to do. I don't know if it's his fault. I don't care if it's his fault. At this point in time, this team has not been able to go anywhere. And I'm talking about this team like it's mine. But if I was the owner, I would have to say, what are we doing here? So Lions 8-6. This game is very important for them. And Jelani says go Lions, of course. But this is very important because they're right there with the Seahawks and the Cowboys.
Yeah, Jelani, I know, is going to be interested in this game. JB Bodie going to be interested to see what Detroit does against the Cincinnati Bengals. So if I'm Jelani, I'm going to be watching with intentful eyes, though, because as you mentioned, Marvin Lewis, rumors are that he is going to be on his way out looking to potentially part ways with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been the head coach there for 15 years. And like you, I believe that it's been time for Marvin Lewis to step away as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a guy who hasn't won a playoff game, 0-7 in the playoffs when it comes to playing or coaching the Cincinnati Bengal football team. So this is a game that Detroit should win. Now, I say that very... they should win this football game. This is a team that I believe is, they're a 3-point favorite on the road and still have a lot to play for, obviously, themselves when it comes to a wild card spot. And if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan this weekend, you are cheering for the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game at home and play with some pride for Marvin Lewis, if he is, in fact, on his way out to get him a home win against this Detroit Lion football team. But this is a team in Detroit that relies heavily on the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League in Matthew Stafford. They don't run the ball very well and don't run it at all, really. Going against a Cincinnati team where all they have is A.J. Green at this point. Exactly. That's the only bright spot that they have in Cincinnati. But obviously, they've gotten some good play out of Joe Mixon, the controversial running back out of Oklahoma. Giovanni Bernard is still there at the running back position for the Cincinnati Bengals. But this is a trap game for Detroit. Again, Detroit should win this football game, put themselves in position where they take on Green Bay next week to end their season. But I would not be surprised. I'm picking Detroit, but I would not be surprised, Jelani, if the Lions drop this game, because this is a classic game that the Lions could potentially drop on the road on a team that they're supposed to beat. They're more talented than this Bengals team, but the Bengals are potentially playing with some pride, obviously with the rumors of Marvin Lewis potentially stepping away from this team. And Marvin Lewis is a good coach. I think this is a situation where it's time for a new voice in Cincinnati, more so than him being a bad football coach. Marvin Lewis is a tremendous football coach, tremendous defensive mind, and I think at this point everybody needs a new, fresh voice when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. So we'll see if the Bengals can play with some pride this weekend. There's obviously nothing to play for but pride at this point. Right. And if you're a Cowboy fan, again, you are cheering for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's go, Bengals. Let's go. Let's go, Bengals.
Yeah. So,
I'm going to be watching that game very closely.
Yes.
And I'm going to be cheering them on. I don't have any Bengals colors. I do like Bengal Tigers, so I guess that counts for something. But anyway, shout out to DJ P Funk in the chat room. Thank you for dropping through. He said, I've been a Lions fan all my life, so I know about getting let down. Nothing for sure with the Lions. Yeah, I hear you. Next up, which is a great matchup, the Rams versus the Titans. There's a lot riding on this game. The Rams, who have not actually clinched yet, so they're looking to clinch, looking to possibly get home field advantage. I mean, they've got some possibilities right there. They're third in the NFC. And then also you got the Titans, who are fighting for a spot. They are at number 5. So there's a lot riding on this game either way. I'm a fan of this Rams team. It seemed like they have completely turned the corner, especially with a young coach. Jared Goff is looking like that top pick, like he was drafted at. Todd Gurley's looking like a beast. Their defense is looking like a beast. The Titans, you got Mariota there. You have Derrick Henry. Of course, you have DeMarco Murray. I don't think they're quite there yet. I think they're moving in the right direction. Their defense has been good for the past couple of years. I believe Dick LeBeau is there coaching the defense with the Titans.
Wade Phillips for... you're talking about for the Titans? Yes, yeah. Dick LeBeau, that's right, yeah.
They're moving and they're trending in the right direction. If I had to pick one team in this game, and this is playing at the Nissan Stadium, I'm assuming that's in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I don't see anybody. I don't see this team stopping them in this particular game, and they've been playing some good football, sound football. Wade Phillips, like you just mentioned, is there solidifying that defense, calling some great defensive plays. So I'm going with the Rams in that one.
Yeah, this game is intriguing because you have two young football teams, and I'm going to touch on the Rams here in a second. The Titans, though, still have a chance. They control their own destiny this week for the final 2 weeks of the season, actually, especially if Jacksonville loses to San Francisco on Sunday. If Jacksonville loses to San Francisco and the Titans are able to win against Los Angeles, it will set up a showdown next week in Tennessee for the AFC South Division.